So we've done the sound deadening, so you guessed it, next step is to insulate the van. First of all, just want to cover one topic. I have changed the name of the YouTube channel to Endless Road Vans. Had a little decision, and all I'm going to be posting on this channel is campervans. Bloody hell. So check out the Instagram page that coincides with that. Click on the subscribe button to keep up with future progress on this van and probably many other camper vans I'm going to do. Today we're covering insulation. There's many ways to insulate a van. There isn't really a right or wrong. You can use synthetic wools, you can use the board stuff that you can cut and sand and stuff, the closed cell foam, loads of different things. I've gone for wool mainly because it's recyclable, good for the better for the environment. I haven't done a test on actual figures of what insulates better than one another. In certain areas I've gone for the closed cell foam matting, the sticky on one side, also acts as a sound deadener, and then in other areas that you'll see later in the video I've used expanding foam from a can as well. So you need to insulate the van not only to keep you warm in cold conditions, but it's also to keep you cool in really hot conditions, because obviously the van's made out of metal. Metal is a conductor, it'll end up turning into an oven. So I've got the Wolf and Wool insulation wheels, check them out on Instagram. So I think I'll start off by showing you how I fitted that in the van. First job, gonna get the wool into all the cavities. Just eyeball it up, roughly the size you want, and then you can either cut it with the scissors, or I found it easier in the end just to tear it and just stuff it into all the crevices and that. Some parts I did use a bit of spray adhesive, especially in the quarter panels, because the internal structure in some places prevented it from tucking up inside it. So just put some spray adhesive onto the quarter panels and then just stuck it to it, basically. Don't be cramming as much into the cavities as possible, because the way it works is that it traps air, and air is an insulator. So just fit as much in so that it looks filled, but don't be compacting it in there. It needs the air inside it to work to its full potential. Right, so next stage of the insulation process. I've done all the wool insulation now, which I'll show you later. In the meantime, this is Body Shop, what do they call it? Masking sheet. So it comes in a roll and then it unfolds out to like 5 meters wide. So what I'm going to be doing next is expanding foam, and I'm just going to put that in all the roof cavities, which are too thin to get any wool into them. Obviously with the amount of holes that are in the roof panels there, it's going to drip out in it. So that's where we put this on, because I don't want it all dripping onto all that, because it's a nightmare to get off once it sets. And because I've wrapped it all the floor pan, I don't want it going on there. Now, can't stress this enough, brilliant insulator, but you want to use it sparingly, because there's only certain places where you can put it.
That's what she said.
For example, don't be putting it in your doors if that's where there's a cable running for your door locks, because if that cable snaps and you've foam filled it, the amount of work to get that foam out to replace the cable again is going to do your head in. Again, don't really put it where any wires are, for the same principle, and don't put it on any, like, where there's exterior panels that the foam is going to be up against that, because it can warp it. So on the roof, doesn't matter if it does anything on the roof, because you ain't going to be up there, and it's probably all dented and stuff from walking on it over the years anyway. But the roof is, I would say, stronger than the exterior panels, because it's got all the folds in it. But yeah, don't put it on any quarter panels or doors or anything like that, because it will bulge it out. So here goes. I assume everyone knows how to fill a void in with expanding foam. I mean, it says it on the can, but the main thing you got to do is make sure the can's upside down. So doing the ceiling of the van was quite difficult with that, because obviously the ceiling's in the way of the can and putting it upside down. Methodically work your way around it, placing the nozzle in all the hole access holes, and fill it up. Knew I should have got 2 cans. Rather than going and get another can now, I think I'm going to wait and see how much that expands overnight, and then assess it in the morning then, and any voids that are still there, I can go get another can and fill them up. But I still have to do that part of the roof rail there. In the centres there was some access holes, so I have stuffed as much wool into the centre parts as I could, so then it's just the sides then that need the foam. So I've come back in the next day after putting the expanding foam in, and there was quite a few voids left. So I ended up having to go back to the shop and get 3 more cans of expanding foam. So that I used 4 in total, which I didn't expect. So I'll let that do its job overnight now, and then check it in the morning, and then trim off all the excess then. So just to show you where the expanding foam is, it's all along this roof rail here, right to the front, and then across the horizontal beam that separates the cab from the back. It's in there, and then again down the other pillar, and then in the roof beams, as I said, there's wool in the middle, there, not where the light is, but then so the sides of the roof beams, they're all foam filled, there and there, and then again there, and all down that side. Right, so I've done all the wool insulation now, as far as I can tell, and now I'm about, well, 3/4 of the way through doing the man-made foam insulation. I won't bother showing you me doing the whole thing. I'll just show you it finished afterwards. I'll just show you doing one of the wheel arches now, and then obviously doing that, the same thing applies to everything else. Make sure it's clean of grease and dirt and dust, anything that stuff isn't gonna like sticking to. Obviously I've painted all this with Raptor already, so it's already clean. Apparently Raptor has its own insulation and sound deadening properties as well, but how good it is I do not know. Yeah, so we're gonna put this stuff on there now. Like I said in the video I did about the sound deadening, this stuff is what you want to be putting on here, because this doesn't vibrate. So you want to put this stuff on there, and then that'll stop the sound passing through it to a degree, and it'll offer insulation as well. Okay, so what you want is a nice blade, tape measure, and a nice pair of scissors. So I've measured that, it's roughly about 18.5 inches. So they're nice enough to put a handy little grid on the back of it, so then you can cut to it then. Okay, that's how I want it. I'm just gonna wing it. Gotta press it into all the cavities, ridges. start in the middle and work outwards. Well, I didn't measure that entirely, did I? Let's see if we can get it back off. Right. Start again. Moved it down a bit. Okay, now all we have to do is trim off the excess. Do the same on the other side. It hasn't got to be totally neat and tidy because you ain't gonna see any of it, but I'd prefer knowing that it's neat and tidy. Right, now with the bits we cut off, we can fill them in by here. Sheeps will get absolutely everywhere. And there you go, one insulated and sound deadened wheel arch. What I'm hoping to do is cover that with carpet then, just to make it look a bit more professional. So there's the two wheel arches done. Got them. So you can see there where I've cut out the excess material, and so it looks like it's one piece. And actually did the pod as well. And you can see all the wool. It's just falling down a little bit by there at the moment. I'll go back up once I've bored it out. Wool there and there, and then panel, the roof. And the cab area as well. That was 5 meters, so a 5 meter roll, 1 meter wide, so which covers 5 square meters obviously, and that wasn't enough to do the van, so I am missing enough to do that pod, the passenger side pod, and the floor. But I won't be able to do the floor until I put the battens down to mount the wooden boards onto. So once I've laid out the wooden battens, I can then work out where I can put the insulation in between the battens then. So yeah, I've had to order another 5 meter roll of it, but this time I've actually tried a different brand. It was cheaper, so just to compare it to really, because I've only got to do a little bit with it, so we'll give that a try. The second roll of the foam insulation turned up, and I've cut it and put it on the passenger side pod there. I can't tell any difference at all between the two brands that I've used. It's literally, if you look at this stuff here and then look at that stuff there, they're both the same thickness, they're both the same size rolls. Literally the only difference was the paper that you peel off. Obviously there's 2 different logos on it, and that's the only difference I can find. The foam behind the silver stuff, exactly the same. One was considerably cheaper than the other, so you make up your own mind. Okay, so that's the bulk of the insulation done. As I said, still got to put this stuff on the floor. We've got to wait to put the wooden battens in, and also I will probably put some more insulation up on the ceiling with the wall. But what I'm gonna do is wait until I've fabbed up the basic shape of the ceiling panels. I haven't even decided what I'm gonna do on the ceiling yet, and then I can gauge what gaps are behind the panel then, and I can stick a foam in. Plus I gotta run wires and stuff for the lights, whatever I'm doing for lighting, so I don't want to put the wool in there and then have to rip it all back out again to put the wires in. I'll pop the links in the description of the products I used and where I got them from, and any questions on the sound deadening or the insulation that I've used, pop that in the comments and I'll answer it at the end of the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.